Hi, so today I am here and I'm going to start a sewing project, a quilt, and I am going to be using the Kona cotton that I got in Quilty Box. This big roll here, and it's called the Roll Up, and I will be making this quilt that came in the, I think it was January's Quilty Box. It's called Pink Lemonade. And it's all the step-by-step instructions here. So, so let's head over to my cutting mat, right back there, and we'll get started cutting. Okay, let's get started by opening this up. So excited to finally start. I have made a couple other little things on my embroidery machine. I made an in the hoop basket, which was embroidered, but I haven't done any like real like this, or that to me was a little different. So let's find the end and unroll it. I got all this lovely fabric. I'm going to separate the colors. Okay. And the first thing it says was from each of 6 pomegranate strips, cut 1 square at 2.5 by 2.5. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 8 of these. Okay, so we have 6 strips here, and it has a bias on each end, so we want to start by cutting that off. Okay, and then we're going to make a 2.5-inch square. So that is, let's see, I'm going to do it this way. Oh. I need to turn my fabric this way. Since we got our ends pretty squared up, we're going to go to the 2.5 line. Oops, we didn't just want one, so I need to make sure I don't leave that over. Cut 1 square, so I'll lay this on here. It's pretty straight. We're going to do the 2.5 line. Okay, that looks good. Always measure twice, so we got 1, 2.5. There's our first square. So we need to get 5 more of those. Move this one out of the way. Bias off the end. I'll line it up on this line so we know it's straight. Hopefully I'm not cutting too much off. I don't know if you can see it, but there's like little holes in there, and that's how you can tell it's the bias part. And this is pretty much the same on both sides, so there is no front or back really. So it doesn't matter which side you use. Okay, now I need to flip it back over. Line it up here. And you want to use your lines and put it along the fabric so you know it's straight. And cut. There's number 2. Okay, I'm going to cut off the bias again. I decided to do this because I thought with all these straight lines, this would be a great learning project and to get me used to straightening things up and using the rulers. And though I learned to sew when I was a kid, so I know the general idea of everything, but since I haven't done it so long and there's so many new things and I've not done quilts, so like lining these up and squaring, that's all new to me. Number 3. So if there's any questions or tips for me, please feel free to ask. I've wanted to make quilts for a long time. Let's see, that's 1.5. There's 2.5. 2 more to go. And this ruler came in my quilty box, my last one, the May quilty box, and I really like it. It really stays snug and doesn't move around. So that's definitely something a beginner should have, because you definitely don't want to have to deal with things moving around. So 2.5. And you do have to kind of lift it up a little bit to move it so your fabric doesn't move. Let me put that on this line. All of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe one more. Where did one go? I mixed it up somewhere. There it is. Okay, let's cut off this bias. So what I'm doing is lining it up on this line here and this line here. So I know I have it straight. And trying not to move it. Okay. Get that lined up. Number 6. All right. There's our 2.5 by 2.5 inch squares. And you can see right here. See that there? Got on the 2.5 mark. So put that aside. Okay, now it says to take, this is the pink flamingo and the pomegranate, and sew together 1 pomegranate and 2 pink flamingo. So that's what I'm going to do next, and we'll head over to the sewing machine. Okay, here we are at the sewing machine. I have my 2 strips lined up. And what I did to make sure I have a 1/4 inch, I took a ruler and made a guide for where a 1/4 inch is. So I moved my needle over enough that this line right here where the feed dogs go in is my 1/4 inch. So as long as I keep that lined up, I'll be at 1/4 inch. Okay, so we got that started, and start this here. And we're gonna go. I do have this on a slow sewing speed, so I can keep it straight until I get more used to it, because I haven't done a lot of sewing in a long time. Like I said, I made a couple projects, but not like this. We're going to stop, we're going to realign, make sure they're lined up. Let's see, it's moving a little bit. It's not too bad. Okay, line this up again. Kind of got off there a little bit. Okay. Right now I'm just trying to go for accuracy, not so much perfection, as much as I would like to, but I have got it off here a little bit. I think I might maybe, I don't know how, I think I'm going to rip out my seam for a little bit here. Because it kind of got off a little bit. So I'll be right back. Okay, I ripped it out. There was just a few. And I'm going to start back over. I do want this lined up. Okay, straighten them up again. I'm going to put it a little bit faster. This again. It did move a little bit. Straighten it up some. Okay. Moving it down a little bit. Again, because it does move a lot. It moves a lot. Okay, we're still good. Okay, there's our first strip. See it there, looking good. Okay, now we're going to just kind of open it up and put our other strip on, put it on the other end here. And I did use one that I didn't cut the bias off either end, so, and it still was a little shorter, so I guess that didn't really matter a whole lot because they're not perfect anyway. So now let's lay this open and take another pink flamingo and line up the edges. And I'll sew this one and all the 5 or 7 other ones, and I'll be back after that. Okay, my fabric is moving around a lot and I had to pull out the seam again, so I decided to use these clips to hold it in place. So if you are just beginning to do your sewing and make a quilt, you may want to use some clips or pins because it did move around a lot. So just start like this. And I did move my needle, so I'm using the edge of the presser foot to line up. and that makes my 1/4 inch, so it's easier to stay on track. That definitely is helping. And you may want to stop it to undo it, because that did mess up a little bit there. It's going to take a little more time, but in the end it's going to be worth it. Make everything look nicer. So I will be back when I'm finished. Okay, I'm on my 3rd strip, and I just wanted to show you that I use a lot of clips. These clips really made a difference for me, keep the fabric from moving around. And you can see I have them spaced fairly close. And I did do all the way down the strip. It takes a little bit longer because I'm stopping to remove them, because if I try to push them and do it, it gets stuck on here. Maybe I could do it a little sooner, but I like to do it till it gets close to keep it, because I want to keep my pieces together. And you also want to keep your fabric a little bit taut. If it gets too loose, it starts buckling in here. So you want to try to keep a little taut, not too tight. You want to let the machine pull, but also without resistance, but just hold it enough that it keeps it straight. And I don't know if I said this already, but I did remove my needle to make the presser foot, the edge, to be a 1/4 inch. Because it was a lot easier lining up with that than down under there. So I'm going to go ahead and get started again. And like I said, this is my 3rd strip. The first strip on the 3rd strip. So I just do like this. I stop, remove it, and I just kind of keep this taut, because it's going to pull it through. And I just use my finger here to help guide it and keep it straight. You can eventually do like that, but I start getting off unless I just kind of do that. It keeps me a little more accurate. And this keeps the fabric from bubbling up on me. I mean, you could do pins and pull them out easier, but I really like these. It's a lot easier to get started with, because you're just clipping them on. And it's taking me at this speed and clipping about 10 minutes to finish one complete row. So I will be back. And there's the first strip of my 3rd set. And just kind of come back and pull it. Then we're going to come back to the other end and we're going to flip it over. And then we're going to attach the next piece. So since I cut off my end, which 6 of them were cut off anyway, I'm just taking the selvage and lining it up on the end where the selvage begins. And then line it up. And then put your clips on. And you just go down, lining it up, making sure they're lined up, and put a clip. Super easy. I think this is a great first project because it's all straight lines. and there's not a lot of cutting beforehand. So I'm going to continue on and I'll return. Okay, now I'm starting on the next row. You can see I just kind of hold my hand here to guide it, and I put a little pressure so it gives it a little tug to keep my fabric straight and flat. And this has worked out much better for keeping my fabric straight and not have to use a seam ripper for this step anyway, because my fabric kept sliding around. Now if you had shorter pieces, obviously it probably wouldn't be so bad, but since this is so long, for me as a beginner, this is what's working best for me anyway. And it was also, to put the clips on, that was easiest to just lay it in my lap across my legs, and it was much easier for me to work that way. Now if you have a lot more space and a big table area, it may work out for you that way to be easier. And here is my third one. It's coming along great, looking good. I'm very happy with it so far. So I'll be back. I have 5 more to go. And I wanted to show you what I did. I have them lined up in piles over here. So I just grab a whole set and it's ready to go. Okay, we're on the last one. And one thing I did forget to say, and forgot to do myself, is make sure your thread is a good quality thread. I was like halfway through and forgot to check my thread and was just using an all-purpose thread, which obviously you want something better if you want it to last long. So I switched to a 50 weight Superior Threads. I think it is polyester. It's a 3-ply polyester. I think cotton is supposed to be better, but I didn't have any, so I just went with this good quality polyester, and I'll just make sure I'm careful with it when I'm washing it and everything. So we're on the last strip here. And it's gone pretty smooth. Taken me several hours to clip and sew. I did stop a little bit for a potty break and drink of water, but I didn't really stop for any length of time. And I have not changed the speed. This is the speed it's been at the whole time. But it's where I felt comfortable for starting out. So hopefully after I do a few, I will be able to go a little faster. but the clips were a big help. So I'm glad I decided to use those. And keeping my hand here, holding the fabric taut, and just being able to maneuver it to keep it straight has worked out well. Other than that, it's been super easy. And like I said at the beginning, I think this is a great beginner project for getting your feet wet and beginning to do quilting. And putting my needle lining it up so at the side of the foot is a 1/4 inch was a lot of help. This one's moving a little bit. There's the final one. So there we go. I got my pile. All these done. Now we're ready for the next step, which is pressing.